The answers we sought come wrapped in painful truths, and we haven't even learned half of the truths yet. Are you feeling the pain already as well? If you haven't seen the newest episodes of From, or if you're currently watching it now, go ahead and skedoodle because there's going to be some spoilers that I want to talk about. Jade's questions did not go unanswered. Did you pick up on what the answers were? Jade pleads and asks for information on 4 separate accounts. The first time is when him and Boyd are out in the forest and he calls out the first time, wanting the forest to show him what he used to know, show him something that he can't remember. To which we see a young Jade playing the violin on the day that his grandmother passed away, a day that he had forgotten even happened. He gets angry, which leads to his second plea for information. He shouts and yells out at the forest that he wants to know why they've been stuck in the town, to which he then sees the younger version of himself, but he also sees the guy with the nail spike in his eyeball, who's also holding a skull full of blood. And after being convinced by Boyd, Jade ends up drinking the blood, and at the bottom of the skull, he sees a whole bunch of spiders. So if you ask me, the answer as to why they've gotten stuck in the town is because of the spiders. The same spiders that Jade saw earlier in his trip when he was looking out the window. Everyone in the town has gotten stuck in the spider's web. But not only does he see the spiders in the bottom of the skull, young Jade also leads Jade to his reincarnated selves, where he then ends up learning the truth about the demise of all of his past lives. I'm a poet and didn't even know it. Jade's third question was, how do they stop it? To which then young Jade leads Jade through the colony house down into the storage room and says that he needs to follow the path, but the path is hidden behind a giant wall of stuff. So after him and Boyd clear out the stuff, they find a giant door, which then leads to a massive tunnel. Once Jade follows that tunnel, it leads him to the sacrificial room where the children were sacrificed. Now, the fourth time he pleads for information is technically the same question that he asked the third time, which is, how does he stop it? How does he save the children? And right afterwards, Jade is immediately surrounded by all of the monsters, to which they end up grabbing him and dragging him to the grave that's in the center of the room and shoving him down into it. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't quite know what the answer is to that final plea for information, or what it meant by the monsters pushing Jade into that grave. But that does mean the answers to the next step lie within that room and possibly even that grave. Is it the grave of Tabitha and Jade? And that's why they keep reincarnating? They tried to save their children, they were unable to, and also sacrificed with the children. Food for thought. Now, if you notice something when we learned about Jade's past lives predict a dark, grim future for Jade. We see 4 of Jade's reincarnations, and they're actually all the same people that Jade has hallucinated during his stay in the town, aside from Barkeeper Tom, but that's because Barkeeper Tom isn't a reincarnated self. And while all of his reincarnated selves all are vastly different from each other, they share something in common, and that's that they weren't ripped apart by the monsters. Young Jade tells Jade that it's the minnows and the shark's net that ends up killing Jade in all of his past lives. Jade pieces together that the minnows are really the townspeople, to which young Jade tells him that it's the same every time. They discover that the children are calling Jade to the town, they blame him for them being in the town, and then they hate Jade, which then eventually leads to them killing him, which spurred a theory when it comes to Christopher. Maybe Christopher wanted to tell the town about what the boy in white was saying, but the boy in white didn't need the whole town to know, just Christopher. But Christopher went and told the town anyways, which is what made the boy in white ignore Christopher. The whole town ends up turning against Christopher, and they end up murdering him, and with the man in yellow being there, he manipulates the town into then turning against each other, causing the town massacre. Something else that we see from Jade's reincarnated lives is that Civil War soldier, which shows us that Jade and Tabitha have been reincarnating for at least 150 years, every time being unable to save the children. As if I wasn't worried enough for Jade this season, now knowing what to be worried for makes it so much worse. But what's worse than that is apparently what happens to Tabitha. And my theory is that every time Tabitha goes through her cycle and her reincarnated lives, I think Tabitha loses her family every single time she's reincarnated and ends up in this town. And then every time Jade is reincarnated and ends up in the town, he is betrayed by everyone in the town and then ends up being killed by them. Jade's trip revealed so much. Everything from his past lives to learning that the next step is in the sacrificial room. And knowing that in every single reincarnation, Jade is murdered by the townspeople worries me beyond belief. What are your thoughts and theories on Jade's trip and the answers that he ended up getting throughout the trip? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let me know.